بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. I welcome you to another episode of our series Safara Keram, where we strive to be in the company of the holy angels by perfecting our recitation of the Quran by learning the science of Tajweed. As usual, we'd like to start off our show with an interesting fact about the Quran. And in our last episode, we had discussed that the Quran has actually been revealed in different ahruf, and these ahruf have been preserved in various qira'at or various ways of reciting the Quran. And we mentioned that there are 10 such ways in which the Quran is recited. Now we said that for the most part these are only memorized by advanced students of the Quran, by advanced students of Tajweed, who go to specialized institutions. And in these institutions they are taught poems which have been written which compile all of these 10 qira'at. Of the most famous of these poems is the Shatibiyya by the famous scholar Qasim ibn Ahmad al-Shatibi. He was from the Muslim Spain. He died in the year 548 Hijri. This poem compiles 7 of the most famous qira'at. There's another poem, At-Tayyiba, by Muhammad ibn al-Jazari, who died in the 9th century, and in this poem he compiled all of the 10 qira'at. Just to give an example of what really a qira'at is, or what are some of the differences. For example, in Surah Ma'idah verse 6, Allah Azza wa Jal says, يا أيها الذين آمنوا إذا قمتم إلى الصلاة فاغسلوا وجوهكم وأيديكم إلى المرافق وامسحوا برؤوسكم وأرجلكم, with a fatha on the lam, أرجلكم. This is found in the qira'ah of Hafs and some other qira'at that we recite. In other qira'at, the lam has a kasra, and we say أرجلكم. Now, without going into too much detail, basically the difference in meaning would be that in one qira'ah, Allah Azza wa Jal is telling us that when we do wudu, we have to wash our faces and hands and wipe the head and then wash the feet, which is how we do wudu all the time. We wipe the head. We don't wash it with water. We just put our hands over it and then we wash the feet. The other qira'ah, however, tells us to wipe the feet and not to wash them. Is this a contradiction? No. Rather, this shows you the beauty of the Quran. It further illustrates the miraculous nature, the power of the Quran. Because we all know that when we, for example, wear socks or wear some type of covering and we have wudu, we don't have to wash the feet. Rather, we're allowed to wipe over the feet. And this is so beautiful when you study the different qira'at. You study the different ways of reciting the Quran, all of which go back to the Prophet ﷺ. You find that each one complements the other. Each one adds a meaning that the other has not added. And this is the beauty of the qira'at, which is appreciated by every single student of the Quran who studies these qira'at. So don't think that there's a lot of contradiction or there are a lot of differences. No. Each qira'ah adds another meaning, adds another beautiful aspect, which one of them did not do. Returning to our lesson, we were discussing the exceptions in the qira'ah of Hafs, which is the qira'ah that we recite. What are the exceptional circumstances, the exceptional rules that go against the general rules that we studied? And this is the part 2 of the exceptions. The first that we're going to discuss today is something called an imala. Okay? An imala means to produce a sound which is between the alif and the ya. So it's between the alif and the ya. It's not an alif, it's not a ya, it's rather in between. Okay? And there's only one word in the entire Quran where we do an imala, and that is in Surah Hud verse 41. Let us open up Surah Hud verse 41 and let us see how to pronounce this imala. Surah Hud is surah number 11 verse 41. Notice, if you look at it, if you turn to verse 41 of Surah 11, Surah Hud, وَقَالَ ارْكَبُوا فِيهَا بِسْمِ اللَّهِ. Look over here, there's always a special sign. In most Qurans it is like a diamond underneath the majraha, right? If you were to not know what an imala is, you would say majraha, but that's a mistake. You have to pronounce it with an imala. An imala is pronounced as this, majreha, majreha. So we will pronounce the verse like this. وَقَالَ ارْكَبُوا فِيهَا بِسْمِ اللَّهِ مَجْرِيهَا وَمُرْسَاهَا مَجْرِيهَا وَمُرْسَاهَا مَجْرِيهَا مَجْرِيهَا. It's not a majri, majra, no, it's in between. Majri. This is called an imala. And it only occurs once in the entire Quran. Yet another exception is known as the tasheel of the hamza, which means that you pronounce a hamza in between an alif and a hamza, in between it. Okay, so it's close to a ha sound, if you like. It only occurs in one word again, Surah Fussilat, verse 44. Let us turn to this exception. Surah Fussilat, verse 44. Surah Fussilat is surah number 41 in the Quran. Surah number 41, verse 44. Okay, here we find Allah Azza wa Jal says, وَلَوْ جَعَلْنَاهُ قُرْآنًا أَعْجَمِيًّا لَقَالُوا لَوْلَا فُصِّلَتْ آيَاتُهُ. Now notice, أَعْجَمِي, you notice that the second hamza typically would have a dot on it. To show you, you don't pronounce it as a hamza. You don't say أَعْجَمِي. Rather, you pronounce it as follows. أَعْجَمِي. أَعْجَمِي. You don't pronounce it a full hamza, and you don't pronounce it as an alif, full alif. It is in between. وَلَوْ جَعَلْنَاهُ قُرْآنًا أَعْجَمِيًّا لَقَالُوا لَوْلَا فُصِّلَتْ آيَاتُهُ أَعْجَمِيٌّ وَعَرَبِيٌّ. So we have أَعْجَمِي. It is not a pure hamza, and it is not a pure alif. It is in between. This is known as tasheel. أَعْجَمِيٌّ وَعَرَبِيٌّ. So this is another exceptional rule which must be memorized, and there is no other place like it in the entire Quran. There's one last exception, and this is that in some cases in the Quran you're allowed to pronounce a sin and a sad, or a sad, depending on whatever you want to do. And there are a number of places where you can do this. There are two places, Surah Baqarah and Surah A'raf, these two verses, where the Quran is actually written with a sad, but it is preferred to use a sin instead. Okay, let us look up Surah Baqarah, verse 245. Surah Baqarah, verse 245. The ending of the verse. Wallahu yaqbidu. Now notice, in the Quran there is a sad. Above that sad is a small sin. What is the purpose of this sin? It is to tell you that it is preferred to pronounce it with a sin. So you don't say Wallahu yaqbidu wa yabsutu. You don't say so. Rather you say Wallahu yaqbidu wa yabsutu wa ilayhi turja'un. Wallahu yaqbidu wa yabsutu. Yabsutu. You don't say with a sad. Even though you're allowed to, but the sin is preferred over here. And the same applies to Surah A'raf, verse 69. If you can quickly turn to that. It is the exact same word even, in a different form. Surah A'raf, verse number 69. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, if you look in the middle of the verse, وَزَادَكُمْ فِي الْخَلْقِ بَسْطَةً. You don't say بَسْطَةً. If you did, it's not a mistake, but it is preferred to say وَزَادَكُمْ فِي الْخَلْقِ بَسْطَةً. بَسْطَةً. Okay, so you don't pronounce it as a sad, you pronounce it as a sin, even though it is written as a sad. And in order to show you that, the people who wrote the Quran, they have, the mushaf and the printers, they have added a small sin to tell you to do so. Another exception is Surah Tur, verse 37. Surah Tur is surah number 49 in the Quran. If you turn to verse 37, 52. You find that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, أَمْ عِنْدَهُمْ خَزَائِنُ رَبِّكَ أَمْ هُمُ الْمُصَيْطِرُونَ. Notice the sad has a small sin, but this time it is beneath it. So this is to show you, you can use a sin here, but a sad is preferred. It is better to pronounce it as a sad. Okay, and that is why the sin has been placed below the sad, unlike in the case of Surah Baqarah and Surah A'raf, where the sin was above it. Okay, so we pronounce this as أَمْ عِنْدَهُمْ خَزَائِنُ رَبِّكَ أَمْ هُمُ الْمُصَيْطِرُونَ أَمْ هُمُ الْمُصَيْطِرُونَ. And we're allowed to, but it is not preferred to say مُسَيْطِرُونَ. This is the one that is not preferred, but it is allowed. And there is one last exception, and that is in Surah Ghashiyah. All of you know, in Surah Ghashiyah is in the last juz of the Quran. In Surah Ghashiyah, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, in verse number 22, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, لَسْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ بِمُصَيْطِرٍ. Now some Qur'ans have a sin underneath and some don't. Either way the sad is preferred. Okay? But it is allowed to use a sin. لَسْتَ عَلَيْهِمْ بِمُصَيْطِرٍ. بِمُصَيْطِرٍ. And a sin is allowed, but it is not preferred. بِمُسَيْطِرٍ. Okay? But the sad is what has been given preference. So these are the exceptions, and we have completed all of them. These are the exceptions. These must be memorized. There is no rule here. It's just memorize these exceptions, and then you move on. We will practice, recite. Let us go to Surah Fussilat, the same surah that we showed this example from, of the Tasheel. Let us practice, recite this one. Let us turn to verse number 41. Okay, repeat after me. أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم.
إن الذين كفروا بالذكر لما جاءهم وإنه لكتاب عزيز.
إن الذين كفروا بالذكر لما جاءهم وإنه لكتاب عزيز.
لا يأتيه الباطل من بين يديه ولا من خلفه.
لا يأتيه الباطل من بين يديه ولا من خلفه.
تنزيل من حكيم حميد.
تنزيل من حكيم حميد.
Here I'd like to point out a very common mistake. لا يأتيه الباطل. Okay? Many times you hear people say الباطل. This is a mistake. Because they think that the alif is followed by a ta, which is of the heavy letters, حروف التفخيم. So they make the alif heavy. It is very common to hear people say al-batil, al-batil. But this is a mistake. Because what do you look at when you decide whether to make the alif heavy or light?
Preceding letter.
The letter before it, the letter preceding it, not the letter after it. The letter after it does not play a role in the heaviness and lightness of the alif. So over here, لا يأتيه الباطل, باطل. You don't say باطل. And this is a very common mistake because people think that the ta after it will affect the alif. What did we do with the mim bayni? What is the ruling here?
Conversion.
Iqlab, because there is a noon sakin followed by a ba. Wala min khalfihi. What did we do with noon sakin here?
Izhar,
because there is a kha after it. Tanzilum. What is here?
Tanween with ghunna.
Idgham with ghunna, because there is a tanween followed by a mim. Min hakim would be what? Izhar. And hakim min hamid once again is izhar. ما يقال لك إلا ما قد قيل للرسل من قبلك.
ما يقال لك إلا ما قد قيل للرسل من قبلك.
إن ربك لذو مغفرة وذو عقاب أليم.
إن ربك لذو مغفرة وذو عقاب أليم.
Okay, here we have min qablik. What is the ruling on the min? Ikhfa, because it's followed by a qaf, and we have a qablik a qalqala on the ba. Inna rabbaka, we have ghunna on the noon because it is mushaddad. Ladu maghfiratin. How about the ra? Muraqqaq or mufakham? It'll be heavy. It'll be heavy because it has a fatha on it. Again, this is a common mistake. Maghfira, maghfira. No, it is maghfiratin wa dhu iqabin Alim, the tanween will have idghar because there is an alif there. With this we come to the conclusion of today's episode. Inshallah, in our next episode we're going to have a very special guest. We're going to have a very famous Qadhi come and recite the Quran, and we will analyze the Tajweed rules from his voice. So please tune in next time. Until then, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu.